business owners are not themselves aware कि what regulation exactly apply to their industry. There are certain industries which are not regulated by NBC 2016. Knowingly or unknowingly, we are also blending ethanol with the safety of the people as well. We are actually lagging behind. Safety is important, otherwise it will be too late.
Welcome back to yet another episode on fire and safety. Meet Mr. Gurpreet Singh, who has worked with the Indian Navy for over 15 years and with the Indian government, and now he is the managing director and the founder of Act Masters Private Limited. Gurpreet comes with abundant experience in the area of fire and safety. Today, let's discuss about the landscape of fire and safety in India. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Arav.
Okay. Now, my first question is, let's start with regulations. What are the regulations governing fire and safety in India, and how are industries adapting to these regulations?
Hello, Arav. Thank
Yes,
you
sir.
for asking the questions, and you are welcome again. So, India is primarily regulated under NBC 2016 code, which is National Building Code 2016. So, most of the companies and commercial spaces, they are generally guided by the NBC code, and all the states have adopted those regulations as per their requirements. Like in hilly areas, there may be some changes which are not applicable in the plain areas, and then now with the changing landscape, there are certain other regulations which are now being utilized or being applied into the industries. Like with the emergence of ethanol industry, PESO section areas and OSD norms, which are also partially applicable to some industries. So with this, I would say there are industries which are using NBC 2016 code, and there are certain industries which fall under OSD 116 and 117.
Having these regulations, what are the areas in which these industries are falling short in meeting the regulations?
Yeah, this is a wonderful question, because in most cases, business owners are not themselves aware what regulation exactly apply to their industry, because NBC 2016 is not enough to cover every industry, considering their level of hazard or the risk they are carrying. Like there are three types of hazard mainly: low, medium, and high hazard. But then there are certain industries which are not regulated by NBC 2016. Those should be governed and regulated by some other codes like OISD for ethanol and petrochemical industries. But then the irony is, we have already initiated those industries, like development in those industries like ethanol, but then there are no regulations implemented for those industries. So as of now, it is coming in bits and pieces, mix of both the regulations. Some states are actually using those regulations and few states are not using it, and there is a huge gap as of now. I think government should think about it and plug in this gap so that all the industries stay safe and they are just focusing on their businesses, not every time thinking about the fire regulations.
Yes, well said, Gurpreet. I think if any business owners are watching this, I think business owners want to focus more on their business and rather have someone who can take care of safety in their organization.
Yeah.
I'm sure they also get to know that certain regulations have not been met only when an accident or a fire hazard happens in their premises.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So ethanol has been a major talk in the last 1 month.
Right.
With I think right now about we are mixing 20% of ethanol and petrol and diesel,
Right.
and I'm definitely sure this is going to increase, like how it's happened in the West. And what I see is there is going to be a lot of ethanol plants mushrooming, and how are the fire and safety gearing? How are they gearing up with the fire and safety with respect to ethanol plants?
So, for me, first of all, I would appreciate our government who has taken this step towards greener India.
Okay.
Because our energy dependency on other countries will reduce with the introduction of ethanol and blending of ethanol with petrol and diesel. But then, knowingly or unknowingly, we are also blending ethanol with the safety of the people as well, because most of the industries, ethanol industries, which are coming up in the populated areas itself, in the vicinity of populated areas, in farms and there, and this particular industry is not being regulated by a particular regulation or code, which is yet to be implemented, which is yet to be thought at policymakers level. So we are actually lagging behind in terms of a particular fire safety regulation which applies to this particular industry. So I will earnestly request our government to rethink about it and reframe the regulations for this particular industry,
Okay.
because other industries are somewhat they are covered under NBC 2016,
Okay.
but then this particular industry is not being covered properly. And with the increase of blending of ethanol with the fuel, risk is only going to increase.
All right.
So how we are going to ensure that okay, risk is also, fire risk is also covered?
Okay.
That we have to think right now, otherwise it will be too late.
So my understanding is still it's not being regulated in certain areas.
Definitely. So there are few states who are working on in these areas in a uh, desired manner, but then there are certain states which are still sticking to the 2016, which is actually which it reflects कि even the fire safety department, they are not getting updated कि what kind of regulation applies to what kind of industry. They first need to upgrade themselves, and then only they can educate the industries and the business owners, so that in future no industry suffers because of non-compliance of any regulation.
Are there any new regulations that are going to be introduced to meet the surging demand of ethanol?
Right now I don't see anything happening in this particular area. This is basically left to the state government fire departments. But then every department is not thinking uniformly. Each state department has its own policy. Somewhere the regulations are being met in line with PESO and OSD, and somewhere these are not being met. But then we need to have a centralized policy uniformly applicable to all these states, so that every state, every department is aware of the same thing. Like we talk about franchisee of branded some brands like KFC. You taste one thing in Europe, you taste same thing in India as well. So we need to have those kind of regulations in India which looks after fire safety uniformly across the states.
Okay, okay. Gurpreet, since you're working with multiple business, I want to understand this from the landscape of the mindset of the Indian business owners.
Okay.
When do they actually come to you? Is it when they face a roadblock, or they genuinely want to be safety ready?
See, if I talk about Indian business owners, nowadays they are very much aware that yes, safety is important. But then still there are some cultural differences that many of us still think that it is a compliance matter, and then they start thinking about the safety. And as far as involvement of fire safety services providers or consultant, it should be at the inception stage itself. Like we hire architects for designing the civil structure, we should also hire fire consultants, so that all the systems, firefighting systems and everything is pre-planned, well designed, which cohesively works with other systems.
Okay.
And then there are no major shifts in terms of modification of architectural designs, or maybe in other systems that we are maybe cost is not shooting up then, and it is also then complying with the entire regulations, fire regulations, and industry stays safe.
Okay, from my so my understanding is business owners come to you at the last minute when they face a roadblock mostly.
Right, mostly.
So an extension of that question is, have you ever seen a fire claim, insurance claim getting rejected? If so, what is the reason for it?
Yeah, it is the same. Basically, we don't lack technology or resources, we lack intent. And when I talk about intent, an honest intent is to get compliance and NOC, and just for the sake of having fire insurance. And insurance providers, they have the intent of selling policies without even ensuring that particular industry is compliant with fire regulations or not. And then when some emergency happens, during investigations, sometimes their claims and compensations get blocked.
Okay.
Because those compliances which should have been ensured at the very first stage they were never insured and a policy was issued.
But then, why are insurance companies insuring these companies or businesses that are not compliant in the first basis?
For them, I would say it's a business transaction. And then again, I would say lack of intent towards making sure that industry stays safe, compliant with fire regulations. And we just have to think beyond the business transactions. We have to think about the lives of the people. We have to think about the properties, assets. There are crores of rupees invested into the business. We have to think about everything. When we think about those things, we also ensure that, okay, while issuing the policy, we are auditing these facilities, we are ensuring that everything is into the place which is ensuring their fire safety.
What do you think is the future of fire and safety in India?
I feel we are going in the right direction. However, there is a still lot to do in this area. As compared to the developed countries, we have a long way to go. We still have to catch up with them. How they are building their fire safety resilient, how they are getting ready themselves, crisis ready basically. So we need to think from the grounds, from the scratch. We can introduce these things right from the primary education itself, so that India is well equipped to meet with global warming and other kinds of disasters, natural calamities, not only fire safety. So these are to be taught, needs to be taught at initial education, primary education
Well said,
levels.
Gurpreet. Like, Japan, the kids are taught how to react when there is an earthquake. And in tsunami prone zones, it is the schools that teach the kids
Right.
how to be disaster ready.
Right.
And I think it's high time that India also gets into the curriculum of teaching disaster management along with
Right.
moral science. So the younger generation is safety ready.
Right, right.
What is Act Master's proposition to the future, Gurpreet? How do you plan to revolutionize the area of fire and safety in India?
Yeah, I will thank you for this question, because we are the ones who have not only served in armed forces, but then we come with that energy and that passion for fire safety, which distinguishes us from the rest in the market. We have launched a mission 360-degree, and when we say 360-degree, it the services, the umbrella which we are providing, it encompasses everything into it. So right from audit, consultancies, general services, we are also equally focusing on R&D and innovative products. And besides, we have also planned to open a training school where we will build future fire safety army, which will work in every corner of the country, which will add to the industrial safety, commercial safety, and even the residential safety as well.
It's a wonderful proposition because business owners, when they want to hire fire and safety professionals, I think they can come to your institution and start hiring students from here
Yeah,
who
basically.
are safety ready.
Yeah. So basically, the idea is to not to talk about fire safety. It is to basically act upon it.
Okay.
That is how we can add value to this particular field, which is generally neglected.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Gurpreet, for your time.
Thank you.
It was wonderful meeting you in another episode of Fire and Safety.
Thank
We will
you.
meet again to discuss some other topics some other day.
Thank you so much, Arav. And actually, I would like to convey sincere thanks from my entire team side, because there are very few people, those who like to speak about areas like fire safety. And I hope through this podcast or through this particular session we had with you, lots of people are going to gain insights how Act Master is working in this area, and it will also attract the attention of policymakers. Thank you so much.
Thanks.